Hey there, Night Owl. Welcome back to the 3 a.m. Scholar, the cozy corner of YouTube where you learn while you yawn, laugh while you lounge, and maybe, just maybe, snore your way through some surprisingly juicy history. Before we get cozy, a quick little checklist. Hit that subscribe button. Tap the thumbs up if this video tickles your brain and soothes your soul. And gently press the notification bell. Don't worry, it won't actually ring in real life. Tonight's tale is all about Soju, Korea's favorite clear concoction. From royalty and rebellion to karaoke and chaos, this little bottle has seen it all. But before we dive in, drop a comment below and tell me, have you ever tried Soju? Got a funny story? I'll go first. The first time I tried Soju, I thought it was fancy water. Spoiler, it was not fancy water. 15 minutes later, I was complimenting a stranger's shoes, which turned out to be a potted plant. All right, let's set the mood. Grab your farting feline friend, your droopy-faced dog, dim the lights, close those blinds, and politely remind your roommate and her boyfriend that spicy time can wait till Saturday. We've got a sleepy story to tell. You comfy? Pillow fluffed? Blanket burrito achieved? Good. Because it's time to learn how this humble spirit became a cultural icon. Just try not to spill your drink if you're already horizontal. Let's start at the beginning. Chapter 1. Once Upon a Sip. The Ancient Origins of Soju. Let's rewind the clock. Not a few years, not a few decades, but nearly 1,000 years. Back to the 13th century, when the Mongol Empire was galloping across Eurasia like a drunken horse at a rice festival. Genghis Khan and his merry band of conquerors weren't just good at taking over land, they were also excellent at sharing ideas, technologies, and alcohol. You see, the Mongols brought with them a little something called arak, a distilled liquor from the Middle East. Arak was sharp, powerful, and carried a kick strong enough to startle a yak. The Mongols had picked it up from the Persians, and like good party guests, they brought it along when they invaded Goryeo-era Korea in the 1200s. And just like that, boom, distillation was introduced to the Korean peninsula. Before this, Koreans were already sipping on fermented rice wines like makgeolli, but now they could distill. They could concentrate. They could create soju, which literally translates to burned liquor because of how it was made. Also, what your throat feels like after 5 shots on an empty stomach. But I digress. Still awake? Or have you already astral projected to a Mongolian yurt, surrounded by goats and ghosts of warriors past? Anyway, these early versions of soju were rough, rustic, and often homemade. But they were treasured. Soju wasn't just booze, it was a sign of hospitality, of healing, and sometimes of, well, trying to forget that the Mongols just razed your village. A coping mechanism in a ceramic bottle. One legend even says the first Korean distillers modeled their stills after Mongol military gear. Imagine a helmet boiling water while a general takes a nap. History is wild like that. The Goryeo Dynasty, 918 to 1392, saw the first boom of soju making, especially in places like Andong, a region that's still famous today for traditional soju. It was mostly the upper class and aristocrats sipping back then, with recipes passed through families like precious heirlooms. You know, this ring belonged to your grandmother, and this soju recipe, that knocked your uncle out cold at your parents' wedding. Quick sip check, not of soju, of your tea or sleepy juice. You still with me? Or has your dog claimed your pillow and exiled you to the edge of the bed? Okay, let's keep drifting. Chapter 2. Royal Sips and Rice Rations. Soju in the Joseon Dynasty. Ah, the Joseon Dynasty. Roughly 500 years of scholars, scrolls, silks, and sass. If Goryeo was the wild teen years of Korea's soju saga, Joseon was the moody, rule-abiding adult phase. complete with Confucian lectures and absolutely no fun allowed on Sundays. Or Mondays. Or any day, really. Let's set the scene. We're in the 15th century now. The monarchy is strong, scholars wear snazzy hats, and everything from your outfit to your opinion on fermented cabbage is dictated by strict Confucian ideals. And in walks Soju, or rather, Soju sneaks in, tipsy and barefoot. While the elite were busy memorizing calligraphy and quoting philosophy, the common folk and a few cheeky nobles were brewing, sipping, and inventing new drinking games under the radar. Joseon society was heavily influenced by Neo-Confucianism, which discouraged excessive drinking, and yet the people kept sipping. Because apparently, even back then, a little buzz helped you forget that life was basically an ancient group project. Still awake? If not, you're probably dreaming of a Confucian scholar with a wine gourd and a resting serious face. The government attempted to regulate alcohol production through taxation and strict laws, but surprise, Soju didn't care. Homebrews thrived in kitchens, courtyards, and anywhere a curious aunt or crafty neighbor could hide a clay pot. Meanwhile, Soju also had a role in rituals and ceremonies. Ancestor worship was a big deal in Joseon, and you better believe the spirits needed some spirits. Soju was poured as an offering, a symbolic gesture of respect, love, and, hey, please don't haunt me over my bad marriage decisions. Andong Soju, which began bubbling during the Goryeo period, really came into its own during Joseon. Families perfected recipes, passing them down like sacred scrolls. The distilling process was seen as an art form, and the final product was a badge of honor. Especially if your soju didn't make Uncle Jay accidentally start a kitchen fire during New Year's. One fun fact to sip on. Queen Inmok, a consort of King Sonjo, was said to have enjoyed a sip of soju now and then. Though records are vague, possibly erased by jealous eunuchs or very boring historians. Still, imagine royal ladies-in-waiting playing drinking games behind silk screens. Loser has to confess who they think is the cutest scholar in the court. Scandalous. Joseon was also the era of gyeoja, private drinking dens, where friends gathered in secret to sip, sing poetry, and pretend not to gossip. These were the 15th century version of a speakeasy, but with way more hanbok and way fewer neon signs. Soju also featured in medicine. Yep, doctors would prescribe it to stimulate digestion, calm nerves, and cure what we now call a case of the Mondays. In short, despite official rules and regulations, Soju flowed like a mischievous mountain stream, showing up at ceremonies, backyard brews, royal court drama, and poetry nights. The Joseon Dynasty gave Soju structure, gave it etiquette, gave it a little snobbery. But it also gave us stories, traditions, and the sense that a drink can be much more than a drink. Sleepy yet? If you're still awake, you deserve a gold medal in historical liquor endurance, or at least a nice stretch. Next up. Chapter 3. Things are about to heat up with wars, occupations, and black market bottles. Bring your metaphorical flask. It's gonna get bumpy. Chapter 3. Distilling through fire. War, occupation, and resilience. If Chapter 2 was a soft sip from a porcelain cup, Chapter 3 is a gritty gulp from a rusty canteen. War, occupation, and national struggle were the backdrop. But Soju? Soju never left the stage. It just adapted. By the late 19th and early 20th centuries, Korea was undergoing intense political and cultural upheaval. Cue the Japanese occupation of Korea from 1910 to 1945, a time when the nation's autonomy was stripped, language and culture suppressed, and yes, alcohol was heavily regulated. The Japanese authorities imposed restrictions on alcohol production, and many traditional soju makers had to shut down or go underground. Rice, a key ingredient in traditional soju, was confiscated or rationed, leading to Dun dun dun. Recipe improvisation. Potato soju? Yep. Sweet potato soju? Definitely. Whatever could ferment, Koreans found a way to distill. Still with me? Or have you drifted off and started dreaming of potato-powered karaoke? Here's the thing. In hardship, soju didn't disappear. It evolved. It became symbolic of Korean resilience. Bootleggers became heroes, grandmothers became distillers, and kitchens once used for cooking stews now doubled as secret soju labs. We stan multitasking. Andong soju, bless its bold little heart, survived mostly thanks to stubborn families who refused to let their recipes die. They brewed in secret, passed knowledge verbally, and dodged officials with the kind of stealth normally reserved for spy movies and nosy ajumas. Soju also played a role in resistance. Underground gatherings often featured it as a gesture of camaraderie, a toast to defiance. Imagine sipping forbidden soju while whispering anti-colonial ideas, kind of like an ancient revolutionary book club with shots. During this period, public soju consumption was limited, but demand never faded. People found a way. They always do. As one satirical folk saying went, "We may lose our land, but not our liquor." By the end of World War II and the liberation of Korea in 1945, soju had not only survived, it had become something even deeper, a vessel for memory, mourning, and identity. Post-war, Korea faced poverty, chaos, and the division of the peninsula. And yet, the little green bottle was still there, waiting, comforting, reminding everyone that joy could still exist in small, shared moments. Take a breath with me. That was a heavy one. If you're still awake, give yourself a pat on the shoulder, or just nuzzle into your pillow like the beautiful little night burrito you are. Chapter 4. The Green Bottle Revolution. Modern Soju and Karaoke Dreams. Welcome to the 1960s, sleepyhead. A time of transformation, televised variety shows, and the beginning of the soju we recognize today. Picture this. Korea is recovering from war, rebuilding faster than a grandma chasing a chicken, and trying to forge a modern identity. But guess who's still hanging around like a reliable friend who doesn't judge you for crying during commercials? That's right, soju. Let's talk diluted soju. After the Korean War, there was a rice shortage. So in 1965, the government banned using rice to make alcohol. Gasp. In response, producers began making soju from sweet potatoes, tapioca, and industrial-grade ethanol, mixed with flavorings and water. Voila! Modern soju was born. Some called it a downgrade, others called it genius. Either way, it was cheap, strong, and ready to party. Are you still awake, or did the phrase industrial-grade ethanol knock you out cold? Either way, let's keep going. During this era, companies like Jinro and Lotte began mass-producing soju, and the green glass bottle became iconic. Why green? Because it was cheap, easy to recycle, and gave off a chill medicinal vibe. Plus, nothing says emotional healing like a 360ml bottle with a twist cap. This is also when soju marketing truly kicked in. Commercials romanticized it, turning it into a symbol of heartbreak, loneliness, brotherhood, and healing. There's probably a commercial somewhere with a man crying into his glass while staring at the Han River, whispering, "Minji, why?" And then came the rise of noraebang, Korea's legendary karaoke rooms. Soju and karaoke, like peanut butter and late-night existential dread. They go hand in hand. You haven't lived until you've seen a middle manager belt out a power ballad while two co-workers harmonize with tears and tambourines. Let's not forget company horseshik, the after-work dinner drinking events where everyone bonds, vents, and momentarily forgets spreadsheets exist. Soju was front and center at these gatherings. It was the great equalizer. Didn't matter if you were an intern or the CEO, everyone had to pour for each other, follow the etiquette, and pretend they didn't see Mr. Park pass out into his kimchi stew. Quick snooze check. Are you dreaming about singing Bohemian Rhapsody with a room full of strangers and green bottles? If so, iconic. By the late 1990s and early 2000s, Soju had become deeply woven into Korean nightlife and pop culture. Its reputation as a drink for everyone, from students and soldiers to celebrities and aunties, solidified it as Korea's every-person elixir. It wasn't just alcohol. It was emotional support in a bottle, a muse, a vibe. There was even a surge of Soju-branded merchandise, umbrellas, lighters, t-shirts, probably even Soju-themed body pillows. Don't quote me on that, but also, don't be surprised. The modern Soju era turned this ancient spirit into a cultural powerhouse, not without controversy. Hangovers, health concerns, and overconsumption were very real. But that little green bottle, for better or worse, stayed beside Korea through every up and down. So next time you see it on a shelf, remember, it's not just alcohol. It's history, hardship, karaoke, and chemistry class, all in one. And if you're still awake, wow, you might need a lullaby made of rice and regret. Chapter 5. Soju Goes Global. From Seoul to SoHo. Fasten your imaginary seatbelt, sleepy traveler. Soju's going international. The 2000s hit like a cymbal crash in a dream sequence. Korean culture was going global. K-pop, K-dramas, Korean skincare routines, and of course, Soju. Suddenly, the green bottle wasn't just a national comfort, it was a cultural ambassador. Korean restaurants popped up in New York, London, Sydney, and beyond. And you know what was always sitting proudly on the table next to kimchi pancakes and bulgogi? You guessed it, a little glass of Soju, just waiting to be sipped, shot, or gently clinked with a geonbae. But here's the kicker. Outside of Korea, many people had no idea what it was. Sake? They'd ask. Vodka? Tequila with commitment issues? No, and kind of. Soju's appeal was in its smoothness, its subtlety, and let's be real, its sneakiness. You don't realize how much you've had until you stand up to leave the table, and suddenly you're walking like a penguin on a treadmill. Still awake? Or did the idea of Soju diplomacy lull you into a soft international snooze? In the US, Soju had a weird loophole moment. In many states, Soju was considered a wine because of its alcohol content, usually under 24%. This meant it could be sold in places without a hard liquor license. Korean barbecue spots rejoiced. Suddenly you could get legally lit on Soju, even if the bar wasn't technically allowed to serve booze. Iconic. Soju cocktails became a thing. Bartenders started experimenting. Soju mojitos, Soju margaritas, Soju espresso martinis, for the chaotic neutral crowd. It wasn't just take a shot and cry anymore. Soju was going chic. Stars like BTS, Blackpink, and IU put Korean culture on the global radar, and Soju rode that Hallyu wave like a champion surfer wearing sunglasses and a hangover patch. Even Korean dramas romanticized Soju with rainy street scenes, awkward love confessions, and slow-motion toasts. It became aesthetic, relatable, marketable. Sales boomed. Jinro became the world's best-selling spirit. Yep, more than Smirnoff, Jack Daniels, or that mystery bottle in your uncle's basement. And most of the world didn't even realize it. Soju was everywhere, at rooftop bars in Los Angeles, street food festivals in Berlin, even fancy tasting menus in Paris. The humble little shot had gone global. And yet, in every country, every city, Soju still managed to do what it always had: bring people together, quietly, comfortably, with a soft nudge and a warm buzz. So if you're listening to this from a different part of the world, maybe curled up on a beanbag in Brazil, a futon in France, or a hammock in Hawaii, know this: you're part of the Soju story now too. Let's check in. Are your eyes fluttering shut yet? Or are you Googling, where to buy soju near me, with one eye open. Chapter 6. Tipsy Tales and Toasts. Soju in Everyday Life. All right, sleepy soju scholar. You've made it to the heart of the story. Not the kings, not the colonizers, not the karaoke rooms, but the people. This is where soju really shines. In daily life, late-night talks, awkward first dates, and celebrations with friends who become family. Let's start with toasts, the sacred ritual of lifting your glass, locking eyes, yes, even if one of you is already a little cross-eyed, and declaring something meaningful, or something goofy, or just geonbae, the Korean version of cheers. Traditional etiquette says you pour for others, not yourself. It's about humility and connection. When someone older offers you a glass, you're supposed to turn your head slightly and drink sideways, kind of like a bashful turtle with manners. Now let's get into the games. Soju nights in Korea are rarely just sipping. No, they're interactive, competitive, possibly regrettable. Here are a few crowd favorites. Flick the cap. You untwist the soju cap, bend the little metal tail, and flick it with your finger. If it flies off, boom, you're a legend. If it flops, take a drink. Titanic. Fill a glass of beer and float a soju shot glass in it. Players take turns pouring soju into the floating cup. If it sinks during your turn, bottoms up. Baskin-Robbins 31. Count up from 1 to 31. Say up to 3 numbers per turn. If you say 31, you drink. Bonus drama if everyone pretends they're math geniuses until the last second. There are hundreds more, some wholesome, some chaotic, all designed to make you laugh, bond, and say, okay, just one more round. 4 times. Soju isn't just about wild nights. It's also part of quiet dinners, family holidays, and tender moments. Parents sip it after long days. Elderly friends gather with snacks, talking about their youth and shoulder pain. Couples on park benches whisper sweet nothings while pretending to ignore the pigeons staring at their bottle. And there are tales. Oh, the tales. Like the uncle who climbed onto a restaurant table and sang trot music for the entire street. Or the college student who met their best friend after accidentally pouring soju into their soup. Or the grandma who secretly spikes her kimchi with soju to help with flavor and digestion. These stories are silly, touching, unforgettable, and deeply human. That's the real magic of soju. It's a drink, yes, but also a bridge. A tiny liquid time machine that turns strangers into siblings and quiet nights into legends. And if you've fallen asleep with one earbud in and the other lost in your pillow folds, sweet dreams. Chapter 7. The Science Behind the Sip. All right, class, settle in. Don't worry, there's no quiz. Just a cozy stroll through the bubbling, swirling science that turns grain into joy. Let's start with distillation, the core of soju making. In simplest terms, distillation is like giving alcohol a spa day. You heat a fermented liquid until the alcohol turns into vapor, then cool it down into a purified liquid. Boom, cleaner, stronger booze. And science, baby. Traditional soju is made from rice, wheat, or barley. The grain is fermented with naruk, a fermentation starter packed with wild yeasts and enzymes. Think of naruk as the magic fairy dust that turns sugar into giggles. Still with me? Or have you dozed off, dreaming of tiny yeast fairies dancing in rice fields? Modern soju, especially the widely distributed diluted version, skips a few artisanal steps. It's made from ethanol derived from sweet potatoes, tapioca, or other starchy sources. The ethanol is diluted with water, flavored slightly, and filtered through charcoal or bamboo. The result? A clean-tasting, low-cost, high-sneak beverage. Let's take a moment to shout out to hangover science. Soju is often thought to produce a cleaner buzz, partly due to lower sugar content and fewer impurities compared to some Western liquors. But let's be real. Drink 5 bottles and no amount of filtration will save your Sunday. The most iconic form is green bottled soju, with 16 to 24% alcohol by volume. That's stronger than wine, gentler than whiskey, and exactly the kind of math your brain forgets after 2 rounds. And what about the taste? Traditional soju tends to be richer, more aromatic, earthy and complex. A sipping spirit. Diluted soju is neutral, smooth, and sometimes slightly sweet, making it perfect for cocktails, chasers, or questionable decisions. Quick brainwave. Are you still awake? Or is your brain now floating in a beaker labeled soju thoughts only? Either way, we're vibing. There's even a whole science behind soju pairings. It goes surprisingly well with fatty foods like grilled pork, spicy stew, and deep-fried snacks. Why? Because alcohol helps dissolve oils and balance heat. Your tongue says, thank you. Your stomach says, maybe slow down. In recent years, low ABV and flavored sojus have exploded in popularity. Peach, apple, yogurt, even milk soju. Yes, it's a thing. No, I don't recommend it before bed. Soju is also studied for its cultural psychology, how it creates a ritual space for people to bond, open up, and temporarily lower the social walls. It's not just a beverage, it's a social algorithm disguised as a drink. And finally, there's the bottle. The green glass? Color psychology says green feels calming and balanced. The size? Perfect for passing. The twist-off cap? Just loud enough to signal, let's go. So, next time someone says, soju is just cheap liquor, you can hit him with a fun fact. It's chemistry, tradition, psychology, and culinary strategy, all bottled up. And if you're still listening, congrats. You just made science. Sojucational. Chapter 8. Sober Reflections. Soju. Health and cultural shifts. Let's slow our pour and breathe deeply, because it's time to talk about soju's more serious side. Don't worry, we'll keep it gentle, like a whisper over a warm cup of ginger tea, or a soft, hey, maybe not that 5th bottle. Soju has been celebrated for centuries, but as Korea modernizes, so too does its relationship with drinking. In a society that once prized group bonding through hosik, after work drinking, younger generations are starting to say, pass. Many Koreans, especially millennials and Gen Z, are opting for honsul, which means drinking alone. It's not sad, it's peaceful, like a little toast to yourself after surviving emails, traffic, and reality. Still with me? Or have you emotionally curled into a dumpling while your pet judges you lovingly from the end of the bed? There's also growing awareness around health and mental wellness. Some drinkers are switching to low ABV or non-alcoholic soju. Others are taking breaks entirely. The cultural shift is subtle but strong, from obligation to intention, from drink because it's polite to drink because it brings joy. Even South Korea's government has launched campaigns to curb binge drinking and promote responsible consumption. Ads now show friendships over fear, moderation over madness. Let's also address the elephant in the room, or maybe the hangover in the room. Alcohol dependence. Like anywhere, some folks struggle to maintain balance. Soju has at times been overused as a coping mechanism for stress, heartbreak, pressure, and loneliness. But there's a growing dialogue about this now, about seeking help, about destigmatizing therapy, about saying, hey, I love soju, but I love my liver too. That's part of the evolution, keeping what's joyful and letting go of what hurts. Kind of like life, but with a twist cap. And yet, soju's place in Korean culture isn't disappearing. It's transforming. Flavored sojus appeal to new drinkers. Cocktail culture makes it playful again. Smaller bottles offer smaller sips and bigger control. And conversations around balance are no longer whispered. They're sung out loud, possibly in a karaoke room with really good acoustics. So, wherever you are on your personal path, whether you love the clink of glasses or prefer sparkling water and sweet potato chips, know that you're not alone. We all sip differently. You hanging in there? Or softly snoozing while your AirPods whisper fermented facts into your dreams? In our final chapter, we'll look at what soju really means. To a nation, to a people, to the person pouring the next round. But for now, tuck yourself in tighter, and let's float onward. Chapter 9. Soju and the Soul. National Identity in a Shot Glass. We've come a long way, haven't we? From ancient stills to fluorescent-lit convenience stores. And through it all, soju has been more than a drink. It's been a mirror. To understand soju is to understand a piece of Korea itself, its history, its resilience, its contradictions. Because here's the truth. That little green bottle has held more than just alcohol. It's held laughter, grief, secrets, songs, apologies, celebrations. It has clinked between generations, across city rooftops and rural villages, through war and peace, rain and neon. Soju has this remarkable way of being both ordinary and sacred. It sits humbly on dinner tables next to banchan, and yet it shows up in poetry, film, music, and art. It's a thread in the fabric of Korean life. It speaks to a culture that values community, where pouring for one another isn't just politeness, it's connection, where drinking is ceremony, confession, and sometimes catharsis. Still listening? Or did that last sentence melt you into your mattress like a well-marinated Galbi short rib? Let's not forget the export of identity. Through soju, people around the world have come to know Korea not just as a place, but as a feeling, a mood, a flavor that lingers, soft but persistent. And let's be honest, soju doesn't care if you're wearing silk or sweatpants. It shows up when you need it, and sometimes when you don't. It's democratic, approachable, chaotic good. Even the green bottle itself is symbolic, small enough to share, light enough to carry, just enough mystery to wonder, how many did we drink again? Soju reflects Korea's humor, its humility, its heat, and its heart. It's both a relic and a ritual, a source of national pride and personal stories. It evolves, but never forgets where it came from. And now, you know too. Whether you've been sipping along with this bedtime tale, or just resting your eyes and absorbing the vibes like a sponge in a hoodie, you're part of the story now. And with that, one more chapter awaits. Not a history lesson, but a soft, sleepy send-off. Stay tuned, Night Owl. We're almost there. Well, Night Owl, we've reached the bottom of the bottle and the end of our journey. If you're still awake, thank you for staying with me through every pore, pun, and piece of history. If you're asleep, that's okay too. You're now dreaming in fermented facts. Soju isn't just a drink, it's a story, and tonight, you've become part of it. Whether you've ever sipped it under neon lights or just learned about it while hugging your cat, it's now a shared tale we've toasted together. Before you go, if you enjoyed tonight's video, don't forget to subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and ring that bell, like it's last call at your favorite noraebang. And if you've got a moment tomorrow, leave a comment with your favorite part of tonight's tale, or your own unforgettable soju story. Thanks for staying with me till the very end. If you made it this far, you've officially earned the right to call me Oppa, even if I'm just a voice in your headphones and a vibe in your dreams. Sleep tight, little shot glass, and don't forget to Gyeonbae in your dreams.